Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have you ever wondered why you keep thinking about someone you have never met? Not someone from your past, not someone you speak to, not someone whose name you even know, yet somehow they keep appearing in your thoughts. You imagine meeting them. You wonder where they are. You wonder if they are thinking about you too. And sometimes, in the quietest moments of the night, a feeling settles deep inside your heart, a feeling that is difficult to explain, as if someone is missing from your story, as if a chapter of your life has not arrived yet. Most people dismiss this feeling. They call it loneliness. They call it imagination. They tell themselves it means nothing. But what if they're wrong? What if Allah is teaching your heart something through this longing? What if the reason you keep thinking about someone you have never met has nothing to do with coincidence? Because sometimes, before Allah brings a blessing into your life, He begins preparing a place for it inside your heart. Sometimes the waiting is not empty. Sometimes the longing is not meaningless. And sometimes the person you have never met becomes the reason you grow closer to Allah, become stronger, become wiser, and become the person you were meant to be. So tonight, we are going to uncover a powerful truth that most people never realize. A truth about longing, a truth about destiny, a truth about the person you have never met. And by the end of this video, you may finally understand why your heart keeps searching for someone it has never seen, because perhaps the real story is not about finding them. Perhaps the real story is about what Allah is doing inside you before they arrive. Why your heart keeps searching for someone it has never seen. One of the most beautiful truths about the human heart is that Allah created it with the ability to hope for things it has not yet experienced. Think about that for a moment. Before a child is born, loving parents already dream about holding them. Before success arrives, people imagine the life they hope to build. Before reaching a destination, travelers picture the moment they finally arrive. And before marriage happens, many hearts begin longing for companionship, long before they ever meet the person written for them. This longing is not always a sign that something is wrong with you. In fact, sometimes it is proof that your heart is working exactly as Allah created it to work. Allah created human beings with a natural desire for connection, a desire to love and be loved, a desire to share life's journey with someone, a desire to have a person who understands their struggles, celebrates their victories, and stands beside them during difficult days, a desire to build a home filled with mercy, tranquility, kindness, and remembrance of Allah. That is why sometimes, especially during quiet nights, your heart begins thinking about someone you have never met, someone whose face you do not know, someone whose voice you have never heard, someone whose name has never crossed your mind. Yet somehow you feel as though a part of your future is missing. Many people become confused by this feeling. They try to push it away. They tell themselves they should not be thinking about marriage. They tell themselves they are becoming too emotional. Some even feel guilty for wanting companionship. But there is nothing wrong with wanting what Allah has made halal and beautiful. Marriage is not a weakness. Wanting love is not a weakness. Wanting companionship is not a weakness. The weakness is when we begin searching for in people what can only be found in Allah, because while a spouse can bring comfort, only Allah can bring complete peace. And this is where many people misunderstand their longing. They think their heart is searching for a person, but sometimes their heart is actually searching for hope, searching for comfort, searching for stability, searching for a future that feels beautiful after a difficult season of life. Perhaps you have been through disappointment. Perhaps you have watched others get married while you continue waiting. Perhaps you have made countless du'as and wondered when your own story will begin. And slowly, without realizing it, your thoughts start drifting towards someone you have never met. Not because you know them, but because your heart believes that somewhere in Allah's plan, a chapter still remains unwritten, a chapter that has not arrived yet, a chapter that Allah is still preparing. And maybe that is why this feeling keeps returning, not because your heart knows who they are, but because your heart knows that Allah's story for you is not finished yet. The real question is not why you want companionship. The real question is what Allah wants to teach you while you wait for it. Because some of the greatest lessons of faith, patience, trust, and reliance upon Allah are learned during the waiting. And many times when people finally receive what they spent years asking Allah for, they look back and realize something surprising. The waiting was never empty. The waiting was preparation. The waiting was growth. The waiting was Allah shaping their heart for a blessing that was worth waiting for. Because sometimes the waiting carries more wisdom than the arrival itself. Allah may be creating space for a person who is already written for you. One of the most beautiful things about Allah's plan is that He often prepares the blessing before He sends it. Nothing in Allah's creation happens randomly. Nothing arrives without purpose. And many times before Allah places a person into your life, He first begins preparing your heart for their arrival. Think about how a farmer prepares the soil before planting a seed. Think about how a house is cleaned and prepared before welcoming an honored guest. Think about how the earth is prepared before the rain falls. Preparation always comes before arrival, and perhaps that is exactly what Allah is doing with you right now. Many people believe they are simply waiting for a spouse. But what if Allah is not making you wait? What if Allah is preparing you? What if every delay contains a lesson? What if every disappointment is removing someone who was never meant for you? What if every difficult season is shaping your heart into the person you need to become before meeting the person written for you? The truth is that most people focus so much on finding the right person that they forget Allah may be focused on helping them become the right person. Because a beautiful marriage is not built by two perfect people. It is built by two people who have been prepared by Allah through experiences, hardships, lessons, patience, and growth. Perhaps years ago, if you had met the person written for you, you would not have appreciated them. Perhaps you were still carrying emotional wounds. Perhaps your relationship with Allah was weaker. Perhaps there were lessons you still needed to learn. And because Allah loves you, He did not rush the process. He allowed time to shape you. He allowed life to teach you. He allowed experiences to mature you. Because Allah sees the entire picture while we only see a single moment, sometimes we become frustrated because we only focus on what we have not received, but we rarely stop to think about what Allah is protecting us from. How many wrong people did Allah remove from your path? How many heartbreaks did Allah save you from? How many situations looked perfect at first, but would have brought pain later? Allah sees what you cannot see. He knows what you do not know, and His timing is always wiser than our emotions. That is why the waiting period should never be viewed as wasted time. It is preparation time. It is growth time. It is healing time. It is a season where Allah is quietly working behind the scenes in ways you may never fully understand. And here is something even more beautiful to think about. While Allah is preparing you, He may also be preparing them. The person written for you may be facing their own struggles right now. They may be learning lessons they need to learn. They may be healing from pain. They may be growing closer to Allah. They may be making dua for a righteous spouse without realizing that Allah has already written your name somewhere within His perfect plan. Subhanallah. Two people can be walking completely different paths while moving toward the same destination. Neither of them knows it. Neither of them can see it. Yet Allah sees every step. Allah sees every tear. Allah sees every da'ah. Allah sees every moment of patience. And at the exact time He has chosen, He brings two stories together, not a moment too early, not a moment too late. This is why trusting Allah's timing is so important, because what is written for you does not need to be chased desperately. It needs to be trusted. If Allah has written someone for you, no distance can stop it. No delay can cancel it. No obstacle can destroy it. The one who created the heavens and the earth is fully capable of bringing two hearts together when the time is right. So instead of constantly asking, "Where are they?" maybe a better question is, "What is Allah teaching me before they arrive?" Because perhaps the greatest miracle happening right now is not that Allah is preparing them for you. Perhaps the greatest miracle is that Allah is preparing you for them. And one day, when you look back at all the waiting, all the uncertainty, all the unanswered questions, you may finally understand that Allah was never withholding a blessing from you. He was preparing you for a blessing that was worth waiting for. You are not missing a person, you are missing a chapter that hasn't arrived yet. One of the biggest reasons people become confused about their emotions is because they misunderstand what their heart is actually longing for. They believe they are missing a specific person. They believe there must be someone out there whose absence they are somehow feeling. But many times that is not what is happening at all. What you are feeling may not be the absence of a person. It may be the absence of a chapter that Allah has not opened yet. Think about your life for a moment. There was a time when you had never experienced certain things that are now part of your story. There was a time when you had never met some of the people who became important in your life. There was a time when you could not imagine where Allah would eventually take you. Yet Allah opened those doors when the time was right. And just as there were chapters you could not see before, there may be chapters ahead that you cannot see now. The heart has a strange way of sensing that there is more to the story, a feeling that something important is still missing, a feeling that life is moving towards something greater, a feeling that Allah has not finished writing your story. And because the future remains hidden, the heart sometimes translates that feeling into thoughts about an unknown person. But perhaps what you are really longing for is not a face, not a name, not a specific individual. Perhaps you are longing for what that future chapter represents. You are longing for companionship after years of walking alone. You are longing for comfort after carrying burdens by yourself. You are longing for someone who understands your struggles without needing long explanations. You are longing for shared du'as, shared dreams, shared goals, shared moments of gratitude. You are longing for a home filled with peace, a home where Allah is remembered, a home where two people help each other become better servants of Allah. And there is nothing wrong with that. These are beautiful hopes. These are hopes that Allah Himself placed within many hearts. But what makes waiting difficult is that we often focus so much on the chapter we want that we stop appreciating the chapter we are currently living. We become so focused on tomorrow that we forget the blessings of today. We become so focused on who is missing that we forget who is already with us, Allah. Sometimes Allah delays a future chapter because He wants you to fully benefit from the current one. There are lessons that can only be learned in solitude. There are forms of growth that only happen when you walk certain roads alone. There are levels of trust in Allah that only develop when you do not have all the answers. And perhaps that is exactly where you are right now. Not abandoned, not forgotten, not left behind. Simply living in a chapter that still has lessons to teach you. Many people look back years later and realize something surprising. The season they once wanted to escape became the season that changed them the most. The waiting taught them patience. The uncertainty taught them trust. The loneliness taught them how to find comfort in Allah. The delay taught them how to surrender to His wisdom. And without those lessons, they would not have been ready for the blessings that eventually arrived. This is why you should never assume that your current chapter is empty. Just because the chapter feels quiet does not mean Allah is absent. Just because the chapter feels slow does not mean nothing is happening. Some of Allah's greatest work happens behind the scenes. Some of His greatest blessings are being prepared while you see nothing at all. And maybe that is why you keep thinking about someone you have never met. Not because your heart knows who they are, but because your heart senses that there is still more to come, more growth, more healing, more joy, more blessings, more beautiful pages that Allah has not revealed yet. So do not become discouraged by what has not happened. Do not measure your life by what is still missing. And do not assume that because a chapter has not arrived, it never will. The author of your story is Allah, and Allah never stops writing beautiful things for those who trust Him. Perhaps the chapter you are longing for is already on its way, and perhaps one day you will look back at this season and realize that the waiting was never punishment. It was preparation for a part of your story that was always worth waiting for. This longing may be Allah's way of bringing you closer to Him. What if the feeling you keep carrying in your heart is not actually about another person? What if it is about Allah? What if the longing you cannot explain has a purpose far greater than marriage itself? Many people assume that every desire exists simply to be fulfilled, but sometimes Allah places a desire in your heart because of the journey it will create, not just because of the destination. Think about your own life. How many times have you turned to Allah because of something you desperately wanted? How many times have you raised your hands in dua because your heart was longing for something? How many nights have you found yourself speaking to Allah about your future, about your loneliness, about your fears, about your hopes, about the person you pray to meet one day? What if that conversation is part of the reason Allah allowed the longing to exist in the first place? Because sometimes the greatest gift is not what we are asking for. Sometimes the greatest gift is the connection with Allah that develops while we are asking. Many people only discover the sweetness of sincere dua when they truly desire something. They only discover the comfort of tahajjud when their heart is carrying something heavy. They only discover complete reliance upon Allah when they reach a point where nobody else can give them the answers they need. And perhaps that is where you are right now. Perhaps Allah is teaching your heart to seek Him before seeking anyone else. Because if a person enters your life before your connection with Allah becomes strong, there is a danger. You may begin expecting from that person what only Allah can provide. You may expect them to remove every sadness. You may expect them to heal every wound. You may expect them to fill every empty space inside your heart. But no human being can carry that responsibility. No spouse is strong enough for that. No relationship is strong enough for that. Only Allah can give complete peace. Only Allah can calm every fear. Only Allah can heal every broken part of the heart. That is why Allah often strengthens your relationship with Him before He sends someone into your life, because He wants your heart to be attached to the Creator before it becomes attached to the creation. Subhanallah. Sometimes we think Allah is delaying our dua, but what if He is answering a deeper need first? What if before giving you the person you want, He wants to give you the faith you need? What if before giving you companionship, He wants to give you certainty? What if before giving you love from another human being, He wants to teach you the beauty of His own mercy and closeness? Many people spend years asking Allah for a spouse. Then later they look back and realize something incredible. The greatest change was not that Allah eventually brought someone into their life. The greatest change was who they became while waiting. They became more patient, more grateful, more humble, more dependent upon Allah, more aware of His presence, more sincere in their worship. And without realizing it, the waiting transformed them. This is why you should never assume that your longing has no purpose. Every sincere longing can become a doorway to Allah. Every unanswered question can become a reason to make dua. Every moment of waiting can become an opportunity to strengthen your trust in Him. Perhaps that is why this feeling keeps returning. Perhaps Allah is not simply preparing your future. Perhaps He is preparing your heart. Perhaps He is teaching you that before any person enters your life, the most important relationship must already be established. Your relationship with Him, because the person written for you may bring happiness. They may bring comfort. They may bring companionship, but they can never replace Allah. And the more your heart understands that now, the more peaceful your future will become. So when thoughts about that unknown person enter your mind, do not only ask yourself, when will I meet them? Ask yourself another question. What is Allah teaching me through this longing? Because perhaps the greatest miracle happening right now is not that Allah is preparing someone for you. Perhaps the greatest miracle is that Allah is using this longing to bring you closer to Him than you have ever been before. And one day, when you finally understand the wisdom behind every delay, every prayer, every tear, and every moment of waiting, you may realize that this longing was never meant to pull you away from Allah. It was meant to lead you directly back to Him. The person you haven't met may already be changing your life from a distance. This may be one of the most beautiful realities that most people never stop to think about. The person you have never met may already be changing your life. Not because they know you, not because they are speaking to you, not because they are physically present in your world, but because Allah is using the possibility of their arrival to transform who you are becoming today. Think about that carefully. How many times have you made dua because you hope to one day meet a righteous spouse? How many times have you asked Allah to improve your character because you want to be worthy of the blessing you are asking for? How many times have you tried to become more patient, more mature, more understanding, and more connected to Allah because you know marriage is not just about finding the right person, it is also about becoming the right person. In a way, someone you have never met may already be motivating you to grow. Their arrival has not happened yet, but the preparation for their arrival may already be changing your life. Perhaps because of them, you are becoming more serious about your relationship with Allah. Perhaps because of them, you are trying to leave certain sins behind. Perhaps because of them, you are learning how to control your emotions. Perhaps because of them, you are learning patience after years of wanting things immediately. And maybe that is part of Allah's wisdom. Because before Allah joins two lives together, He often begins transforming them separately. The truth is that many people imagine that marriage begins on the day two people meet, but sometimes marriage begins years before that. It begins when Allah starts shaping two hearts in different places. It begins when Allah starts teaching both people lessons they will need later. It begins when Allah starts preparing them through experiences they may not yet understand, and that means something beautiful. While you are wondering about them, Allah may already be working on them. While you are making dua for your future spouse, perhaps they are making dua too. While you are asking Allah for guidance, perhaps they are asking for guidance as well. While you are trying to become better, perhaps they are fighting their own battles and trying to become better too. Subhanallah. Imagine two people living completely different lives, different cities, different families, different circumstances. Perhaps they have never crossed paths. Perhaps they do not even know the other exists. Yet both are being guided by the same Lord. Both are being prepared by the same Allah. Both are walking through experiences designed specifically for their future, and neither of them can see the full picture. But Allah can. Allah sees every tear they cry. Allah sees every struggle they face. Allah sees every lesson they learn. Allah sees every sincere dua they make in the middle of the night. And while they are focused on today, Allah is preparing tomorrow. This is why you should never think your waiting period is meaningless. There may be things happening behind the scenes that you cannot possibly understand right now. The person written for you may still need to learn certain lessons. They may still need healing. They may still need growth. And perhaps you do too, because Allah does not simply bring people together, He brings people together at the right time. There are moments when we wish something would happen immediately. But Allah knows that immediately is not always best. Sometimes two good people need more time before they become the right people for each other. And Allah, in His perfect wisdom, allows that process to unfold. This is why trust is so important. Because if you only focus on what you can see, you may become discouraged. You may think nothing is happening. You may think Allah has forgotten your dua. You may think your future is standing still. But Allah's plans are often moving when everything appears silent. The seed grows beneath the soil long before anyone sees a flower. The sun begins rising before its light reaches the earth, and many blessings are being prepared long before they arrive. The same may be true for your future. The person you have not met may already be affecting your life in ways you cannot see, not through their actions, but through Allah's plan. Through the growth they inspire, through the patience they teach, through the hope they create, through the changes happening inside your heart. And perhaps years from now, when you finally meet the person Allah has written for you, you will look back and realize something remarkable. You will realize that the story did not begin the day you met. The story began long before that. It began the moment Allah started preparing both of your hearts for a future only He could see. And that is why you should never underestimate the value of this season. Because while you are waiting for someone to enter your life, Allah may already be using them, even from a distance, to help shape the person you are becoming. And maybe that is one of the most beautiful signs of Allah's wisdom. The blessing has not arrived yet the blessing is already changing you. The biggest mistake people make while waiting for their future spouse. There is a mistake that quietly steals peace from countless hearts. A mistake that begins very small but can slowly take over a person's thoughts, emotions, and even their relationship with Allah. The mistake is allowing a beautiful hope to become an unhealthy obsession. There is nothing wrong with hoping for marriage. There is nothing wrong with wanting companionship. There is nothing wrong with making dua for a righteous spouse. In fact, these are beautiful desires, but the problem begins when the future becomes more important than the present. When thoughts about tomorrow start stealing the blessings of today, when a person becomes so focused on meeting someone that they stop appreciating everything Allah has already given them. Many people do not even realize this is happening. They wake up thinking about marriage. They spend the day imagining future scenarios. They compare their lives to others. They scroll through social media watching engagement announcements, wedding photos, and happy couples. And little by little, they begin believing a dangerous lie. The lie that happiness is waiting somewhere in the future. The lie that peace will finally arrive when they meet the right person. The lie that their life cannot truly begin until someone enters it. But that is not how Allah designed happiness. Because if happiness depended entirely on another human being, then every married person would be at peace. And we know that is not true. There are people who are married and still struggle. There are people who found love and still feel empty. There are people who achieved everything they once dreamed about and still feel something missing inside. Why? Because the deepest needs of the heart were never meant to be fulfilled by creation alone. They were meant to be fulfilled first through connection with the Creator. A spouse can be a blessing. A spouse can bring comfort. A spouse can bring support and companionship. But a spouse cannot become your source of purpose. They cannot become your source of inner peace. They cannot become your reason for living. Those places belong to Allah alone. And when we place a human being in a position that belongs only to Allah, disappointment eventually follows. This is why Shaitan loves turning healthy hopes into unhealthy obsessions, because he knows that if he cannot stop a person from wanting something halal, he can try to make them focus on it so much that they forget Allah. He whispers thoughts like, "Your life is incomplete. You are falling behind. Everyone else is moving forward. You cannot be happy until this happens." And before long, a person begins living in a future that does not even exist yet. Their body is here. Their life is here. Their opportunities are here. But their mind is somewhere else. Always waiting, always wishing, always imagining, never fully living, never fully appreciating, never fully trusting. But Allah never asked you to put your life on hold. Allah never asked you to postpone your happiness. Allah never asked you to delay your growth until a certain person arrives. In fact, some of the most important years of your life may be the years before marriage. These may be the years where Allah teaches you self-respect, the years where He strengthens your faith, the years where He heals old wounds, the years where He teaches you patience, the years where He develops qualities that will eventually make you a better husband or wife. Yet many people rush through this season because they are constantly looking ahead. They fail to realize that today's lessons are preparing them for tomorrow's blessings. Imagine receiving the exact blessing you have been asking Allah for. Now imagine not being emotionally ready for it. Imagine not having the patience, maturity, wisdom, or faith required to protect it. That is why preparation matters. That is why growth matters. That is why this waiting period matters. Because Allah is not only concerned with giving you a blessing, He is concerned with helping you become the person capable of carrying that blessing. Subhanallah. Sometimes what feels like delay is actually mercy. Sometimes what feels like waiting is actually preparation. Sometimes what feels like silence is actually Allah working behind the scenes. And perhaps the greatest act of trust is learning how to live fully while waiting faithfully. To continue smiling while waiting, to continue growing while waiting, to continue worshipping while waiting, to continue building a meaningful life while waiting, because when the right person finally arrives, you do not want to meet them as someone who spent years simply waiting. You want to meet them as someone who spent years becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming closer to Allah, becoming the person Allah wanted you to be. So make dua, hope for the future. Ask Allah for the best spouse. Ask Allah for a beautiful marriage. But do not let your future steal your present. Do not let your hopes become your prison. And do not allow a blessing that has not arrived yet to distract you from the countless blessings already surrounding you. Because the healthiest heart is not the heart that stops hoping. The healthiest heart is the heart that hopes deeply, trusts completely, and still finds peace in Allah while it waits. What Allah has written for you will find you, no matter how long it takes. Perhaps this is the lesson your heart needs more than any other. Perhaps this is the lesson that can finally bring peace to all the questions, fears, and uncertainties you have been carrying. Because at the center of every worry about the future is one fear, the fear of missing what was meant for you, the fear that time is running out, the fear that you may never meet the right person, the fear that somehow your story will not unfold the way you hoped. And if we are not careful, these fears can slowly take over the heart. They can make us anxious. They can make us impatient. They can make us question Allah's timing. They can make us compare our lives to everyone around us. We watch other people getting married. We see friends moving into new chapters of life. We hear stories of people finding happiness. And sometimes a quiet voice inside us begins to whisper, "What about me? When will my turn come? Has Allah forgotten me?" But this is where faith becomes so important, because faith reminds us of something the world constantly tries to make us forget. Allah's plan for your life is not based on somebody else's timeline. Your story is not supposed to look like anyone else's story. The timing of your blessings was written by Allah long before you were born, long before you made your first dua, long before you shed your first tear, long before you even knew what your future desires would be. Allah already knew, subhanallah. The one who created your heart already knows every dream hidden inside it. He knows every silent prayer you have never spoken aloud. He knows every night you have worried about your future. He knows every moment you felt left behind. And despite knowing all of that, He still chose a specific time for every blessing in your life. Not because He wants to punish you, not because He wants to make life difficult, but because He sees what you cannot see. He knows what you do not know. He sees the beginning and the end while we only see the present moment. That is why one of the most beautiful truths in Islam is understanding that what Allah has written for you can never miss you. Think about that. If Allah has written a certain person for you, no distance can erase them from your destiny. No country can hide them from Allah's decree. No delay can remove them from your future. No obstacle can permanently stand between you and what Allah has chosen for you. People spend so much energy worrying about losing what was already written. But how can you lose something Allah has already decreed? How can creation take away what the Creator has decided to give? The reality is that what is truly meant for you is already making its way toward you through paths you cannot see. And often, while we are worrying, Allah is already arranging things. While we are questioning, Allah is already planning. While we are losing hope, Allah is already opening doors. The problem is that we want to see the entire journey before taking the next step. But Allah asks us to trust Him even when we cannot see. That is what Tawakkul really is. It is waking up every day without all the answers and still believing Allah knows exactly what He is doing. It is continuing to make dua even when you do not know when the answer will come. It is continuing to trust Allah even when life feels uncertain. It is continuing to hope even when nothing seems to be changing. Because true trust is not believing Allah can do something. True trust is believing Allah will do what is best, even if it looks different from what you expected. even if it takes longer than you hoped, even if the path is different than the one you imagined. And perhaps that is the reason Allah keeps bringing this reminder to your heart, because He wants you to stop carrying a burden that was never yours to carry. You were never responsible for writing your destiny. Allah already did that. You were never responsible for controlling the future. Allah already controls it. You were never responsible for making every blessing happen. Allah is already managing every detail. Your responsibility is much simpler. Grow closer to Allah. Protect your heart. Improve your character. Continue making dua. Continue becoming the person Allah wants you to be. And then leave the rest to Him. Leave the timing to Him. Leave the details to Him. Leave the future to Him. Because the same Allah who created your heart is fully capable of fulfilling it in the way that is best for you. And maybe one day, years from now, you will look back at this season of waiting and smile. You will remember all the nights you worried, all the moments you doubted, all the times you wondered if your blessing would ever arrive. And then you will realize something extraordinary. Allah was never late, not even for a single moment. Every delay had wisdom. Every unanswered question had purpose. Every difficult season had meaning. And every step of the journey was leading exactly where Allah intended it to lead. So if your heart is tired tonight, remember this. What Allah has written for you is not lost. It is not forgotten. It is not delayed by mistake. It is not beyond reach. It is simply moving toward you according to the perfect timing of the one who controls all things. And when the moment arrives, you will understand why Allah made you wait. You will understand why certain doors remained closed. You will understand why certain people left. You will understand why some prayers took longer than others. And perhaps your heart will finally say, Ya Allah, now I understand. Because what Allah writes is always worth waiting for. And what Allah chooses is always better than what we would have chosen for ourselves. As we come to the end of this reminder, there is one thing I want you to remember. The person you keep thinking about may be real. They may already exist somewhere in this world. They may be walking through their own tests, making their own du'as, and waiting for answers they cannot yet see. Or perhaps Allah simply used the idea of that person to teach your heart lessons it desperately needed to learn. Either way, the greatest message is the same. Do not let the future steal your trust in Allah. Do not let waiting convince you that you have been forgotten. And do not let loneliness make you believe that your story is incomplete, because your story is still being written. The chapter you are living right now is not the final chapter. Allah is still opening doors you cannot see, still answering prayers in ways you do not understand, still arranging moments that have not arrived yet, still protecting you from things that would have hurt you, still preparing blessings that are worth waiting for. Maybe the person written for you is closer than you think. Maybe they are farther than you imagine. But one thing is certain, Allah knows exactly where they are, and Allah knows exactly when your paths should meet. So stop carrying tomorrow's burden on today's shoulders. Stop trying to solve a future that only Allah can see. Instead, focus on becoming the person you would be proud to bring before Allah. Grow in your faith, grow in your character, grow in your trust, and let Allah take care of what belongs to Him. Because if Allah has written someone for you, no force on earth can take them away. And if Allah has not written someone for you, no force on earth can bring them. That is how perfect His decree is. That is how complete His wisdom is. That is how beautiful His plan is. So tonight, leave your worries with Allah. Leave your questions with Allah. Leave your future with Allah. And sleep with a peaceful heart, knowing that the one who controls the stars above also controls every detail of your destiny. May Allah fill your heart with peace when you feel uncertain. May Allah replace your worries with trust. May Allah protect you from unhealthy attachments and guide you toward what is best for your dunya and akhirah. May Allah grant you a righteous spouse if that is good for you. Bless your future with barakah and make your waiting a source of reward rather than sadness. And may Allah allow you to look back one day and realize that every delay, every prayer, every tear, and every moment of patience was leading you towards something more beautiful than you could have imagined. Ameen. If this reminder touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Deenpedia and join us for more reminders that bring us closer to Allah. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.